This is taczoom, an as seen on TV product that's advertised as a high-performance lens for your smartphone. And this is a very similar Amazon product, which is the best seller in its category, also a lens for your smartphone. Today I'm going to compare the as seen on TV taczoom with the best-selling Amazon counterpart and see which one comes out on top. Let's get right to it. Quick overview of the contents. The taczoom has the lens itself, two clips, two lenses here. The Amazon has the lens, a remote, which I believe is Bluetooth, cleaning cloth. I believe these are the other lenses in here. A mini tripod, which this goes together, so and one clip. So it's a little bit different. These are both about $20. I think the Amazon one varies, but they're both about 20 bucks. It'll be interesting to see how they compare. I've got two iPhone 7 Pluses, both of the cases off because the instructions, at least for the taczoom, says you should have your case off. So I'm going to try identical phones with each one of these lenses. I'm going to start off with the telephoto lens. I'm also curious, can I use, this is one of the taczoom's clips, can I use one of the Amazon apexel lenses with it? Let's try that out. Oh, it fits. It actually fits. All right, so you can use those interchangeable if you had both of them. But first up, I'm going to go outside, get these things mounted, and try out the two telephoto lenses. I'm also going to pair up this remote with this phone and try that. Looks like if you look closely, you can see that they have a button for iOS camera and the button for Android camera. All right, I went out back and tried to use these lenses, but ran into a couple of problems. One is that it's not the fault of the lenses, but I was trying to stand at a certain point and focus on that point while testing the lenses out. But I really found that kind of difficult to do by myself. The other thing is that the tripod that came with the apexel is pretty flimsy, and even in very slight wind, I was getting a lot of shaking around. So those first tests were kind of a bust. Here's how they looked. Hopefully you can see me. What I'm showing is on the right is the apexel, on the left is the taczoom. Tell me what you guys think. It's kind of windy out here. I'm not sure if you can see any movement of the camera from shaking around, but it is windy out here. Here's how far away they are. And they're both zoomed in 10 times. Hopefully they're focused. I'm not sure if they're focused or not. I'll try that next. So for that first test kind of failed, I enlisted the help of my friend Brendan, who's a professional videographer. Now originally we wanted to film using both lenses with two different phones, but the wind was making that cheap apexel tripod kind of shaky once again, so we ended up having to film everything with a single tripod at different times. So here's how that went. Got my friend Brendan over there setting up the cameras. See if you can see what he's got there. That's where we're at. It's kind of a cool area. We're down here by the Smith Center in downtown Las Vegas. And it's surprisingly empty here. Look at this, nobody's here. Well, almost nobody. I'll take it though. Well, this is part of the thing I'm reviewing, this cheap tripod. So this cheap one is definitely giving us problems with shakiness and just a very slight breeze. Obviously my Joby is not having problems shaking, but the cheap one that came with the Amazon lens is definitely shaking. The other thing is that when you adjust the focus, you have to really hold the clip and then focus it, because the clip slides around and then you have to reposition it if it gets out of place. So focusing it isn't just a matter of turning that, you have to really use two hands to focus it with. This is what you have to do to focus it, because it's so touchy that if you focus it with one hand, you're going to slide the clip right off and you have to readjust it again. One thing I also noticed is when I film with just the iPhone, is the video was not shaky, but when I film with the lens from the taczoom, it actually was shaky. So I think there might be some stabilization that's occurring in the iPhone that's not occurring when the taczoom's attached. So as you can see, even though the apexel is supposed to be the same as the taczoom does appear closer But the iPhone's built-in zoom looks just as good with nothing to attach, and the focus is not a problem. So next up we went on to the fisheye lenses. Here's how those went. Does it focus? Oh, it does focus. There is a focus on there. Now we're doing the fisheye from the taczoom. And hopefully when we focus it, it doesn't mess up the placement on the actual camera. But if you want to simulate your GoPro, this might be a way to go. Okay, it's pretty close, I guess. Okay. So we'll do this is the fisheye taczoom.
I like it.
It would be kind of cool to show me taking it off to see the difference. There you go. Now let's try the other one. All right, this is the fisheye from the apexel from Amazon. You know, I'm gonna walk out there, see what that looks like. Yeah? Good, yeah? Is it in focus?
Yeah, it's wide.
Is it?
Super wide.
Wider than that?
So wide. Your arms are going inside of the
That's funny.
So, yeah, that's how wide.
And this one you can focus, I guess, this way too. That's cool. All right, as you can see here, the apexel looks a little bit sharper, but I think that might just be an issue of focusing because the two of us had a hard time out in the bright light getting it perfectly focused each time. That's about the best we could do in the light we had, but to me they look pretty similar. So I'm with Brendan, the videographer here. Let's see what his conclusion of these are.
They're very fiddly.
They're very fiddly.
Very fiddly.
That's an Australian version.
Yeah, you cramp it, when you clamp it on and then you adjust the focus, the whole thing, you're literally holding the phone holder, the clamp, and trying to focus without knocking anything off balance.
And what we realized is that the iPhone, even though it only goes zoom 6,
it automatically stables.
It
so
stabilizes
even shaking
it.
on the video when you play it back.
And it automatically focuses too.
It came back perfect.
You don't have to worry about focusing.
Yeah, so far my favorite is
the iPhone.
Just the iPhone zoom.
The fisheye's kind of cool though.
Yeah, it's definitely a cool effect.
The fisheye's, I mean, that's a specialized effect, but you couldn't walk around like all the time, but it's kind of a cool effect to have sometimes. I'm gonna go home and work on the macro myself, but I appreciate Brendan helping me out with the taczoom and the Amazon apexel. I don't know how to pronounce it. Go home, do the macro, and wrap this up. But thanks again, Brendan. Look at how much of a fisheye effect that has.
Just trying to get it right here, guys.
That's
cool.
That's kind of cool. They could easily add an effect like that into the iPhone.
Too. So if you put like a...
Oh, on video it changes. Oh,
gotcha.
wow.
So that's what we're doing.
On video it changes.
So you do a time lapse like that, which would be cool.
See, now he's having fun with that fisheye lens on his phone. He's actually starting to like it more.
Yeah, it's fun for photos.
Fun for photos, but the fiddliness for video is not so cool. Let's see if I can get that. But stuff like that's actually kind of fun with the fisheye. Even though they don't really advertise the fisheye might be the funnest one of them all. You can't really do a fisheye in an iPhone that I'm aware of, so it's kind of cool to add that. Telephoto, I think you're better off just using your phone's zoom. Look, he's geeking out now. And he likes it. Hey, Mikey. So you think that the fisheye is better than the telephoto lens?
Yeah, just because you can pinch and zoom on the phone by itself. It's too fiddly. It's the shaking, the tripod.
Yeah.
You have 10 things going on at once.
That's actually useful, right?
Yeah, this is actually not going to move.
Right.
This thing's kind of random, but yeah, it's cool. I don't know how often you're going to use the fisheye.
but if you have it a camera bag, it might be cool to throw it in there or something.
Yeah. For how small it is and portable, why not?
Yeah. All right, back home now. Now, both of these kits have a wide angle lens. It piggybacks on top of a macro lens. You actually unscrew them to get to the macro lens by itself. So let's try the wide angle first and see how wide it is compared to how just the regular phone looks. First up, the taczoom wide angle lens. All right, I have the lens on there. I'm going to cut to the video of how the actual lens looks compared to the original. I will say it is wider than the original. I'm going to take this off and show you as I take it off how it changes. All right, there's that. All right, now I've just placed the Amazon apexel wide angle lens on there to see how that compares. All right, I'll show you a comparison of how this looks wide angle and regular, and then I'll compare the two side by side to see if there's much of a difference. So let's do that now. Now to get to the macro lens, you actually have to take this top part off. You unscrew that. So that's wide with the two together and macro by itself. So now I have the macro apexel. I'm going to kind of do this with two hands here. I've got it in one hand and I'm going to zoom way in. That's pretty close. This is the apexel macro. Let me see when I take that off if I can get that in focus. Okay, I haven't moved my hand. The grass is a little bit out of focus. Looks like I can't get quite as close. Pretty close. Not quite as close. Let me try the same thing with the taczoom. Once again, I have to unscrew this. Bailey. So now I have my macro lens. Try that. Sometimes lining this up is a little bit tricky. Okay, there we go. Back to the grass again. And it's pretty good. Sorry for the shaky hand, guys, but again, I'm going to take it off and see what kind of comparison I get with the iPhone. Yep, the iPhone can't focus that close. So the macro does outperform the iPhone. And both macros seem pretty close. I think they're almost identical in specs. Now, I think that the taczoom and the apexel are virtually identical to the point that it's hard to tell them apart, and they even can be used interchangeably with each other's clips because the threads are the same. They're basically the same product. If I had to give any advantage to either one of them, which would be slight, I would go the taczoom because the apexel had a little bit of a problem screwing into the threads of its clip, and the taczoom is readily available in stores, so no shipping costs or delays. But really they're pretty similar. I also think that the telephoto lens is kind of the weakest of all the lenses, even though that's the one that's the most touted. I do think that the macro lens is superior to what's built into the phone. I also kind of like the fisheye lens. Kind of a neat effect, but something that I can use too often. The wide angle is pretty good, but I wouldn't say it's something that I would buy just for that. I guess the question then becomes, do the fisheye, the macro, and the wide angle become worth it to you to buy as a separate product? Have you used a taczoom or one of these smartphone lenses? Tell me what you think in the comments below. Please subscribe for more product reviews from me, James White, with Freakin' Reviews.